Good afternoon, good evening, good day. We're early. We know it. I apologize.
Really? I thought that was right on time.
That noise scared me. Sorry, was there a loud noise? My bad. Hello from Vegas. We got done early today, and to be honest with you, it's just with the week being what it was, with vacation and everything coming back, it was like, we could go early and get home and maybe get some sleep. And honestly, it was really appealing. However, for those of you that decided to come and join us early, we have a surprise for you. I'm super excited because I was like, you know what? I don't know if my brain is going to be firing like where it needs to be.
Right.
And so I figured if my brain is firing at half capacity, that this brain could be firing on the other half.
Between us, we'll have one full brain.
Between us, we'll have one full brain. Welcome to the show, everyone. Mr. Brian Mitchell of Arc Audio. Do you want to be Arc Audio today, or do we want to be something else?
I think I'm always Arc Audio, but I'm in the shop today. I don't think anybody's seen the shop. So,
well, yeah. I mean, you've been in it before. It's not like this is your first time on the show.
Yeah. There's that.
Yeah. So we brought Brian on. Dougie Fresh. Dougie saying, "What's up?
What's up?"
Thanks for coming on at literally the last second.
Yes. He's like, "What are you doing? Really? I was just putting my pants on, man. Come on."
So here's the funny twist in this. He was on the phone with Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Doing some tech support, because even tech support needs tech support. And so I hung up with Jeff, called me back, and he's like, "I was on the phone with Jeff." And I was like, "Well, now you're on the phone with me. Who's better, right?" No.
Yeah.
And so then here we are. Liquid Trends. Yes. Liquid Trends is Modesto, California, is where you're at the moment, correct?
Yeah, it's till tomorrow morning when I start driving to Steel Valley Regionals in West Virginia.
Let's talk a minute about Steel Valley Regionals, because as we all know, I'm a novice beyond whatever below a novice when it comes to stereo competitions.
Yep.
Steel Valley, which hopefully they're going to change next year. Not that I'm going to compete, but I might go. Don't be a fanboy. I'll hold my son and go Brian! But very quiet. So
there's lots of loud people there.
Perfect. I'll fit right in. So What is Steel Valley Regionals, and where's it at?
Steel Valley Regionals is in West Virginia, right on the West Virginia-Pennsylvania border. It's an older show. It was gone for a couple of years, came back. Larry Chisner is the one who puts it on. They consider it a money round show, but it's really a prize round. He always had lots of old school equipment that he collected over the years, so he would give those away as the major prizes. And then, he had some, as he ran out of equipment, because you do that for so many years, he went to the distributors and they, donate stuff. Arc Audio is the main sponsor for the show. So we give some prizes and things. And it's a unique show, as in the money round usually has some different judges. And usually they're old school competitor guys who have been around forever, and he talks them into coming and judging. This year's old school competitors are Harry Camara and Eric Holdaway.
Really?
SpeakerWorks fame. So yeah, those will be two cool old school judges, and it's always a kind of an interesting show because those judges are looking for things that are different than the local judges. You get used to the local judges and what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like talking with Jeff, he's like, you got your tune. That's why you want 22 presets on your DSP.
Yes,
So
yeah.
you have a preset for who's tuning today. Hold on, I got his preset.
Yeah, I don't do that, but I there's a lot of guys who do. They'll try to figure out what the judge wants, and I've always figured out, or I figured out over the years that you're never going to get perfect for any judge. So your goal is to get close to perfect for as many judges as you can, and that's when you got a good car. So I always say it takes about a year to flush out a good SQ car. From the local level to a national level, it takes about a year to go through and have enough judges sitting in there to give you the feedback. And at the end of the day, the best car, one judge will say you have too much bass, and another judge will say you don't have enough bass. And when you can do that every show, that means that you're perfect.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So for all you guys tuning in today, there you go. That is Brian's secret tip of the day. Fukuda. So when I was talking with Whiskers,
yeah,
Fukuda's tip of the day, he's like, when he decided to retire, his tip was for winning is minimize your losses.
Correct. Yeah.
And it was like he was like, he goes, I thought he was going to give me like some super knowledge. He was, but he did. He gave him amazing knowledge. It's like, yeah, the whole secret to it is minimize your losses.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, the scores, you're battling against the score sheet. You're not really battling against other competitors. Everybody takes it that way, that you're competing against the other competitors, but you're not. You're really competing against the score sheet. You're trying to maximize the number on the score sheet. However you have to do that, it's just a numbers game.
I feel it's a battle in between the score sheet and the judge.
The judges, they're looking at all these really good cars, and that's the thing is, maybe in years past there was some bad cars, but now there's a lot of really good cars. And what we found, here's a little tip. What we found that really sets the cars apart now is not the high frequency speakers, it's the bass.
Really?
So the bass is where those extra points come in, where everybody's got these really detailed top ends, and they're really, they're in their tuning every 2 minutes, and the bass is what sets the good scoring cars apart from the other ones. So
is that because of the ability to reproduce it more lifelike?
No, it's almost everybody has too much bass in some spots and not enough bass in other spots. So having that be focused up front is difficult to do. And, I've had times where I said, man, I really like that low frequency when I had the 215s in the Cadillac, that I would play this track and the whole car would just feel like it was crazy alive in the low frequencies. And that was just too much bass for what was appropriate for the song. So even though I was wowed by it, people were wowed by it when they got demos, for the score sheet, that was not appropriate. So getting that tone down into a level that matches what the song is, so you can play a SQ song versus a SPL song. When I play Techmaster PEB, that's dating me, of course.
True.
In the Cadillac, I can play both of them on the same tune because it's the appropriate amount of bass for what's being replayed. So as a car is the truck, I can't do that in. I'd like to say I could. I'm doing well in the truck now, but it's not. I still haven't got to that point with it.
Now, are you going to compete with the Cadillac or with the truck?
So I'm just doing the money round section of it, but I'm doing the truck and the Cadillac. The truck, which we filmed at the last Knowledge Fest, is a 2-way setup in factory locations, and it's not going to win the show, of course, but my goal is to see how it places, so I know whether or not I'm doing the right thing in that kind of system. The more I can get to factory locations, the more for a regular customer that's appropriate. If they don't have to have a full pillar setup or some, massive dash reconstruction or something else like that.
Is there space for a multimedia SQ car in a competitive setting? What should a multimedia SQ have to place well in a competition? So I wonder if he's talking.
Multimedia would probably be an EMA term. They don't
Okay.
really have that in the United States as I think they have that as a category, but I don't think anybody's really competing in it because that is lights and video and other things.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I think there's one person on the West Coast that's competing, and maybe one or two random people in the rest of the country. It's not really my my forte there, so I haven't really looked into it.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I think, and overall, I don't think that any of the competition circuits are looking for really anything different. You have some, different things where they're saying, "Oh, I want this lights, or I want a dancing girls, or I want, whatever." But at the end of the day, it's a sound quality competition, and they're looking for reproduction of the source material in the most lifelike, manner possible.
Right. Or whatever they consider the most lifelike manner possible, right? Because
right,
exactly. Whatever bubble that they're wanting you to poke into or recreate, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
That makes sense. sense. So we're gonna have Brian on the show tonight. As you said, this was a big topic. I want to just get out of the way in the beginning because he is getting ready to go Still Valley Regionals, and that means I'm going to be talking to him on the phone for the next 3 weeks while he's driving to make sure he arrives alive. But if you guys have questions, as always, get them in the comments. Fernando's going to start going through the queue. Like I said, we brought him on here tonight because I'm tired, and as you can see, tons of information. We'll be in Dallas together on the 24th, Thursday at Jay's Tent.
Are you bringing the Cadillac in there?
No, I'll have the truck there. I don't think I'll have the Cadillac.
Yeah, because it's a 2-day drive. Remember, it's a simple 2-day drive.
Yes.
Yeah, I had the 2-car trailer, so I wouldn't have any place to keep it because on the floor we just have the truck set up for the trainings. All
right, so here's a good one, and this is actually good because I wanted to ask you about this, and I'm hoping you go in the direction I want to ask. Has anyone ever cut the floor underneath the front seats of a truck for a sub? So I'm assuming they mean like free air.
Yes, underneath the front seats, probably not. There's a bunch of bracing underneath the front seats of most vehicles, but the back seat, we've done that before. Other shops have done that. I did a box in '94 that used the gas tank as the sub enclosure. I'm assuming the question though is more for upfront base. They're trying to figure out how to get more upfront base.
Right.
If I was to do that, and I was looking at that being a potential space for it, it would probably be on the driver's side, and there's usually a void there where there's no muffler or catalytic converter on a lot of the trucks, so there is some space there. But that's probably not where I would go.
Where would you go?
Yeah, I would do a larger subwoofer mounted into the floor than what you could normally get under the seat with enough airspace. And I would do a steel enclosure, which is what we've done in the past, a steel enclosure underneath the seat. And you can make that area the amp rack then, or you can make it so you can't see anything. Because you could put a full-size woofer and the proper size enclosure underneath the back seat of most of the vehicles.
So, hold on. Let me get rid of Fang's question here.
Not sure if that answers the question or not, but
it was good. It was good. I'm gonna go. I think he mentioned leaving the Cadillac with me when he rolls up in Boston. Okay, wish. Boston, Mike. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going that way. I'm going to be doing trainings after SVR on the Northeast. So with 12-volt Lord Phil. Training at his shop. But I'm probably going to leave the Cadillac in Erie or in Connecticut. We're trying to decide, which place has enough room. Milton has opened his shop. He said that he can fit the the trailer in there. It's just hard going up that way and hauling 2 cars because I'll have the Challenger and the Cadillac.
I was gonna say, are you taking the Challenger too?
Yeah, the Challenger's going to.
Okay.
We'll have 4 cars because the purple Challenger's going as well to SVR.
How are you're not pulling all of them, are you?
No. He's going with me. Him and his wife travel, so they have a family in Erie. So they make a trip out of it when they go back there, and that'll be the first really big show. He actually won the last show that they had last week or the week before. He got the SQ Best of Show with that one.
Oh wow,
Nice.
Very nice.
Yep.
It's I mean the install on it's okay.
It's all right.
I mean, it took like a year. Some guy slacking his ass off.
It did take like a year.
I mean, he got his installer of the year trophy using that car, and it wasn't even fucking done. I mean, my bad. But
it was
Mike,
almost done. It was
hard to get keys to your Cadillac. I mean, Jesus, Mike. Might look different when you get it back. Creamy white sauce. Moving on. Okay. So explain what it means by channel separation. Does it have anything to do with having one amplifier powering one side of the car and a separate amp powering the other side of the car?
So there's channel separation on any stereo signal. That's what it is the overlap. If you play a left-hand signal, a right-hand signal, most test equipment, there'll be some crosstalk at some amount of volume. Whether that's audible or not is, a good amplifier is going to have a lot of separation. A bad amplifier, less, and that's that clarity of sound. When you're talking about 2 amplifiers, you have a left channel signal going into the left amplifier and a right channel signal going into the right amplifier, or multiples of those. And so there's no chance of crosstalk in the amplifiers. Now, then your maximum crosstalk is going to be determined by the head unit and or the DSP. So those all work in conjunction, but amplifiers are usually the lowest part of the signal chain. So for crosstalk, even the best amplifiers, unless they're mono amplifiers, it's one of the claims to fame for like the Genesis amplifiers that had a left-right dual mono amplifiers in the same heatsink, is that they could get stereo separation because they're not on the same board.
Yeah. So one of the things with the new Ground Zero Ultra is that they're 2 totally discrete mono amplifiers all the way. Like even the gain pods are 2 separate. Like they look like old TV. Click click click.
Yeah,
is what they look like. And they're literally dials in there that do this, which is really neat. But yeah, so that there is no chance of crosstalk on the amplifier. But we have heard plenty of inexpensive DSPs that when you pause, let's say the left channel, there's still left channel coming out of the right speaker, and you're like, what's all that about?
Yeah, and that's just that's a function of the amplifier. It's one of those things that can be good or bad. There are times when an amplifier in the initial design process or after it's being produced will have one bad part and it'll affect that, and you have to go back through and do an ECU or ECO, an electrical change order, and to fix those things. So it is definitely something that as you get more stereo separation, that it's better. We've got a wider stage. Some of the benefits of that is wider stage. It's just the general benefit of having more stereo separation. It's a big deal in all the little details. All of these are very little details, but when you put them all together, they can have bigger effects on the whole system.
Are you using high-res audio for a source? And by the way, I want to apologize to you, Brian, before you answer that. I didn't mean to I don't want to railroad you with 100 questions.
Oh, I don't mind the questions. I love the questions.
I know you do. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't feel bad, but I kind of feel bad. But ask away, guys. This is the one show we have nothing that we had planned. Brian said yes, like the silly guy that he is. So, man, I'm still waiting why one of you guys hasn't asked why their free air box is. But I'm waiting. I'm not going to ask it, even though I know I want to. All right, answer this question.
Okay, so I tend to be less controversial about some of my answers. Some I'm very controversial, but I go back and forth between my nav TV run head unit in the Cadillac, and now I have an M11 Plus DAP FiO. When I listen to the high res, highest res that it can do, which is much higher than the factory radio can source, I personally cannot hear a difference. What I do get out of the DAP is that I can play all of the different file formats. So that to me is the difference. There are if I'm gonna put a system together and I'm looking for the best pieces, I'm always going to look for something with the highest resolution that I can get, whether it makes a difference or not. It may make that tiny difference. And we're talking about winning and losing in a competition car of such a small amount. The last show, I think it was 1/16 of a point between winning and being second place. And I got second place on that. So, that happens. So I'm always looking to maximize those things. Now, again, I'm also using the Nav TV GM650. In my opinion, is the best module for that particular unit. Not all of the modules are that good. So based on whatever car it is, the modules can go up or down. Just by the manufacturer or what they're able to do and take out of the signal chain. So I know there's a lot of guys who use the Astral and Kern, and those are awesome. They do sound incredible. You get if I wanted to make sure that I always had a good sound signature, I would use a DAP because I know that those are solid, and I would always use a high res song if I can get it.
I'm surprised you haven't switched to one of those because of who we are.
Like I said, I have the FiO, the M11 Plus. I mean, we had the M17 that we tested, which is the version that's higher than the M11 Plus. Yeah. And I'm like everybody else. I don't want to spend money I don't have to.
So, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if I get totally intrigued by something, I might.
I was gonna say, come on, man. There's a bird landing on your nose right now, Pinocchio. I mean, I mentioned, hey, Canon makes it R5. Bye. Hey, real quick before we go on, I'd like to mention the sponsor of the show for this next segment is Audio Control. Make sure to head over to audiocontrol.com. Check out some of the new products that they're coming out with. We've seen pictures. The new speakers are in the wild, so they're starting to ship. So if you're interested in checking those out, don't worry. Next week we will be hopefully getting our girl in here with the car so that we can
hear it.
Yeah, hear it. We'll talk more about that, of course, next week. Anyways, back to the questions, Fernando. With the midsummer heat, been wondering, generally speaking, when does thermal protection kick in? All right, so this would be more of an art question. What says you, sir?
So this is one of those ones that always intrigues me because the guys who are old school guys, and I don't want to ever take anything away from the old school equipment because it was all good and great. One of the things in the old school equipment, and I'm going to get to the answer to the regular question, but in the old school equipment was it had a duty cycle. So you might be able to run it at full volume, full output or whatever it was going to do for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then it would thermal and it would have to cool off, and it would have to cool off for 10 minutes or whatever. Now on new products, if it's installed properly and it shuts down from thermal, either you have something broken or it's not a very good product. So When I say installed properly, I mean plenty of cooling. Some amplifiers cool from the bottom versus the top. So if they cool from the bottom, you would have to make sure that there's some air vents, some spacing off the carpet if they were going to be mounted on a carpet piece, or even ABS because that acts like a blanket and the heat cannot dissipate off it. A lot of amplifiers now are fan cooled. I believe all of ours are fan cooled, which gives us the ability to go down into a smaller heat sink. Sometimes going to a bigger heat sink will actually make an amplifier less efficient because how the convection cooling works on an amplifier heat sink, it can get real hot and then it doesn't dissipate out to the outside edge. So there was a line, the KS line, where we actually cut 2 inches off the amplifier and it cooled more effectively by having a smaller heat sink than a larger heat sink.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's and for anyone who's 2 inches less.
Yeah. Sometimes 2 inches less is better. Yeah.
No one has ever said that. Nobody has ever said that. Hi guys, I want to know how to feed an epicenter full signal from a stock head unit in a 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee Alpine amplified system. I have a key lock getting sub signal. Do I get a pack amp pro instead? Okay, so I came back from vacation with a new appreciation for car audio. I've answered this question like a million plus times. What says you? Pack Amp Pro?
Pack Amp Pro. Yeah. First, the first thing is that those are 2 completely different products.
Yes.
An epicenter is going to give you some bass that's not there in the factory signal. If you're doing OEM integration, which is fine. If that's what you're looking for, is just a bass upgrade, then the epicenter will probably work fine. But for a general system, then a Pack Pro is the more appropriate piece. It will give you a full range, reasonable signal.
What they're looking at, they got the key lock to DEQ it. Should they have gotten the Pack Amp Pro instead because they make the Pack Amp Pro?
I would still use the Amp Pro. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I like the key lock. The key lock is a pretty cool piece.
Oh, God.
But that is definitely for when there's not not an Amp Pro or a Maestro piece. The Maestro's the cool new ticket because you can do all kinds of cool stuff and it interfaces directly with our processors. So, I tend to steer towards those kind of things when I can. So you got Nav TV, you got Maestro, you got Amp Pro, Access, DSP interfaces. So there's
bridge.
It sounds like you teach a class on this.
Yeah, I almost teach a class on that. There's a lot of good stuff out there for that, going the old school way of trying to do OEM integration. Not saying that there's not times when OEM integration isn't great, but that if there's a module for it, use a module.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I recall that you mentioned somewhere that your front sub fires forward up into the dash. About the decision to orientate it that direction versus others. Thank you.
So I prefer a loaded subwoofer to load off of something, whether it's a trunk lid, if it's in a car. I just prefer that sound. There's a little bit different sound to it, almost like a bandpass box. It just got a fuller sound to me. If I'm in a home, I corner load a sub versus having it out in the open. So when I did the sub in the Cadillac, I wanted.
Here we go. Shut it off, Fernando.
Technical difficulties.
No, it's funny because the first couple of years we did this, it was always how the show started off with people that you shut off the air compressor because it never failed. It always would go off during the show. So,
I can't hear anything because the air compressor.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, so we'll get back to that question. I'm just gonna go through some of these while we're waiting. What's up, Brian? He loves his FiO. Never had a thermal protection 117 degrees.
Somebody say, I just got my new Arc Audio PSM Pro DSP, best DSP on the market, and the stuff is $600. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna come out with this one.
Is there any available?
Let me go and play this.
Okay, a new Outlander or Nissan Rogue, the factory system's horrible. On the Nissan Rogue, iData does make the new Nissan harnesses. So, like, if you've got a fairly new 2021, 22 Nissan Rogue, yes, iData does. iData, an RR will function with that, any RR compatible radio. All right, so, we got shorts on today. Oh my gosh, it must be hot. Someone asked us hot. Yeah. Someone was concerned with the heat out there in Modesto. This says like 102 or something. They're like, "Are you doing okay out there, Brian?"
Oh, it's hot as balls.
Oh, it's hot.
So, with the immortal words of Robin Williams, it's hotter than a snake's ass in a wagon rut. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So back to you were talking about loading the subwoofer in the front of your car. It's in the passenger side.
Right.
Let's
So
continue.
the box configuration shoots the woofer down towards the floor, and the floor is flat, and then it goes at a curve as a normal kick panel in a car. It goes.
Yeah.
So the subwoofer fits and fires right there, and then it's sealed off on both sides and the front. So then there's some material that we've pulled down so it can roll up behind the dash. So what that does is it gives you the impression acoustically that the woofer is out in front of you, because it's the first time you hear it. You don't hear it down in the kick panel. You hear it in the back of the dash. So the benefit of that is hearing it there is you get a psychoacoustical feeling that the woofer is in front of you from the tactile response, because you can feel it on the floor a little bit.
Right.
But your ears hear it up here, and you hear it in the center of the car. So having a sub on one side tends to pull the sub when there's a bass note over to one side more than the other. So people try to fix that with the mid bass by turning down the mid bass on the passenger side and turning up the mid bass on the driver's side to try to get that centered up in the middle. And the way I'm doing it, you really get the feel of the bass being up in the front without having to change that mid bass.
When you normally put a subwoofer on the center of the dash or in the front of the dash, for example, do you recommend it to be sealed or ported?
So I don't use ported at all for a SQ system. There's some timing issues because you hear the sound from the woofer off the back of the speaker coming out of the port, group delay, and then the sound in the front of the speaker. Now they're going to time up, but they're going to be out of sync a little bit, just a hair. So I'm not a big ported speaker fan for any kind of SQ.
Okay. Now, how many times did it take you to get your subwoofer right, or did you get it in one?
She's like, I did it once.
Well, I didn't even have to do it. It was just right.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. Installer of the year didn't have to do shit. Just walked in there. I was like, boom, done.
I thought about it and it was right. No. I've slowly been increasing the size of the subwoofer box. So it's probably on its third iteration.
Okay.
The first one was for a different woofer. We used the Arc series woofer to start with, and I really liked the sound of that woofer. So that was my go-to, and I really needed about 0.75 for the box size, and I started out at like 0.45, but because it was loading off the car, you got some transfer function help there on the low frequencies. So it was missing bottom 2 octaves maybe that was only going to show up for certain songs, and it wasn't a problem at the beginning. But then they changed the songs in the competition organizations, so I wanted to increase the box size. So I made a fiberglass mold out of the original one, so I had the outside, and I increased the box size to 0.5. It's small little differences, and that helped some. And then I went with the flat, and then made the box size a little bit bigger. So I think I'm at 0.55 now. So, okay. And if I could get another 1/10 of a cubic foot, I think that would be my sweet spot. That's where I'd really like to be.
What's up, Bobby? Okay.
But three iterations of that box.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
What's everyone's thought on Bluetooth? Snake oil, car audio adapter like the aptX HD, but no current generation phone supports it. No song high res over Bluetooth with phones. You got anything on this take or any of the
have you heard this?
Any high res Bluetooth stuff? I mean, I've heard some.
So in my other Volt that I competed with, I used a Sony NX-1, I believe it was, DAP to Bluetooth, and won a world championship with that. So you can do that. Really, it comes back to if you're trying to get every little bit out of it, Bluetooth probably is not a great on paper. It's probably not a great thing, but there are certain circumstances where I would easily compete with Bluetooth because there's no other options in the vehicle. So, and I don't think that you give up a whole lot. The biggest thing for me is sound treatment. If you don't have a quiet car, it doesn't matter how good the stereo sounds, you're going to lose any of the detail that you're going to get. Differences between the player or the head unit or whatever. Sound treatment is the biggest thing in the car.
Yeah, it's funny when I sat in Fred's car, the Flex. It's one of the dogs going crazy. It was a noisy floor at Knowledge Fest, and it was like, poof. And because it's such a big vehicle, like your car is quiet beyond belief. Like when we get in there, it's almost like, it's scary. Silly. But his big car with all that glass is so quiet. It's like if you did nothing else right, you put enough sound treatment in here.
Well, I mean, that was when I did Gary Bell's podcast, Gary and Matt's podcast.
Yeah,
I got asked to do the extreme, build money no object, and I said, well, I put a whole bunch of money into sound treatment.
Yeah.
So that's that's where I always start with spending money is with sound treatment.
Do you have? So there was a couple of these. Do you have a recommendation DSP wise for tuning satellite speakers way back on an SUV? So I'm thinking they want like maybe rear effect or something like that. Or what is your answer for something like that? If somebody's like, I want rear.
Okay, so let me start out with my canned answer, which is don't use rear speakers. But
Jeff and I don't approve, but go ahead.
Obviously, this person needs the rear speakers. So if you're using a standard DSP and you're going to use any kind of rear fill, rear satellite speakers, then I say turn the amplitude down to where you can't hear them in front. You start with them where you can hear them, and you turn down the amplitude until you say, okay, they're not there anymore. They are still playing at that point, but your fronts are louder.
Yeah.
And then I would add some delay, and this is where the problems come in. Is a lot of guys say, oh, just delay it as much as the DSP can. What usually happens at that point is that you're going to get some echoing out of the stereo when you're doing Bluetooth calls. Because the Bluetooth echo cancellation can't doesn't have enough delay in that to fix that. So you're going to have either huge latency problems where you're talking and the other person doesn't hear you for very long if it's a really badass echo cancellation, or you're just going to have a reverb in there that's going to be horrible. So I start with probably 5 milliseconds of delay, and then see where I'm at as far as echo with Bluetooth. And if I could delay it as far as I can, that's probably where I would start.
Have you heard the new Moscone rear magic that they do for their?
Yes.
Good answer. All right.
So like most things, when it's a package that's developed with that in mind, the results are acceptable to the majority of people. That's what they're shooting for. I'm a 2-channel stereo purist, and that's I don't apologize for that, but I do want to make sure that I say that because my answers usually are around that.
I'm going to pull this one up there. Great answer. Good answer coming from Doug. So which DSP that is available globally to meet most requirements and cost effective? So I'm guessing what he's saying is if you were to look obviously ARC. Let's start with ARC is always the thing, but how is your global thought process there when you go, who do you think is really killing it globally, I guess? I don't even know if that makes sense.
So the only thing I can do is say from the thought process of the internet. You have internet.
Try Jesus.
Yeah.
He's gonna help you. That's for sure.
Sorry about that. That's
It's okay.
There's a few good solid main players in the DSP market, and
Yes.
all of them have a little different take on things. You have us, ARC. You have Helix. Obviously, is a brand that's out there that's killing it in the market. You have Moscone, and you have Audison. So I think you couldn't go wrong with any of those if they do your feature set that you're looking for. Every single one of the DSPs in that list have some little differences on how they approach things. And that's what makes a difference in most things. Okay. So there are other levels of DSPs out there that are not necessarily bad, but they may not have the thought out feature set. The mini DSP is a really good example of that. They have some really cool stuff in there, just random stuff like DIRAC and things like that. You have the audio control piece, which is a solid for the money piece. You have
The heck was that?
I forgot I had some stuff I was supposed to sign today, so they're wondering where I'm at. So there's lots of DSPs. So there's usually a difference in price, and that, just like any other piece of equipment, has to be your value to feature set that you're looking for. As you go up in with anything, amplifiers, cars, tires, glass windows for your house, there's a thing of diminishing returns. But if you're looking for the ultimate, which is what usually you're looking for in audio, the price goes up as the quality of the product goes up, and that's just the way it is. So,
all right, so we have
just for your day-to-day thing, you may not need. It's one of the reasons why we make the PSM Pro versus the PS8 Pro. The PSM Pro doesn't have a flashy box. It's got a water resistant box versus the PS8 Pro, which has got a whole bunch of cool cosmetics on it. And those are for two different things. One person wants to show that off on their badass install, and the other one wants a good utilitarian piece that's going to go behind the dash. And there's differences in price based on that, not necessarily performance.
I have a 22 Mustang Premium, 9 speakers. Are the front door speakers and tweeters just controlled by the left and right channels? Now, if you don't want to take this one, I can.
Yeah, go ahead and take that one.
Okay, so in the Mustang, basically how it works is it has the premium audio system. The amplifier is up in the driver's front kick, and the mid bass is on its own channel on both doors. So the lower speakers are on their own channels, and then the mid range and the tweeter actually share a channel. So that's a very common practice in the world of audio for cars. So, anyways, whoop, there we go. How you feel about the Dayton? What's up, Chris? Huh? No.
The Dayton. Yeah, the Dayton's another one that's for a price point. It's a great DSP. I don't think there's really many bad ones. They all do something cool for the money.
All right, so this is probably one for Fernando. Troubleshooting question. I have a Rockford T 200.4 times 2. When I try to bridge to run two P212s, the sound output drops dramatically compared to running just a single channel. Any idea? I wonder if you have the wrong ohm load. That could be a protection that the amplifier is going in to prevent the amplifier from blowing up, because those amplifiers are pretty heavily protected. They don't want them back, just like they don't want you to break them.
Or it could be that if it's an OEM integration, they have it flipped out of polarity.
Ooh,
there you go.
Yeah, go. Ran into that recently. That's one of the bad things about when you're trying to do like a polarity test on a subwoofer from a factory radio. It's like not going to work because it can't. The polarity testers can't see those low frequencies, or it can't. Yeah, it gets crossed over, and the high frequency pop just isn't going to play through the subwoofer. It's kind of a bummer. Brian, loved your class at Knowledge Fest Orlando. So there you go. Shout out. Chris is a good friend of the show. Works over here at Best Buy up in North Florida. Yeah. Speaking of Mustangs, what brand can I buy for front speaker 3-way on both sides, and what spacers will work? So, how many different sets do you guys have 3-ways?
Yeah, we have the RS 6, 3, and tweeter that will fit in that. The tweeter is going to be a little tougher because it's our RS tweeter's pretty deep, and I think on that car the tweeter is not so deep, so you probably want to do an ARC series tweeter versus the RS.
Okay. To the second part of the question, you're going to have to make your own brackets for that, because none of the currently available brackets will fit the mid bass in the bottom of the door, because the factory is shallower. So we use a 1/4-inch bracket. So, I mean, you can buy their bracket and use that as a template, use the factory speaker to make a template. Same for the 3.5. If you use the factory bracket that's in there, which we tried at some point and figured out that isn't going to work. There again, we make a bracket that mounts the speaker back into the door to prevent that. The tweeter is anybody's guess. The tweeter is a tough one in the Mustang for sure.
Yeah. It's a weird size.
It's a weird size and it's a weird mount, so it's just a lot of fun. I know I own one. Also, the last part of the show is being sponsored by the proud folks over at Moscone. That's right. The new Pro 30. Fernando has it in his car. We just actually hooked the DSP up to it. Spent some time last night sitting in the car tuning it up. We have a show we're going to go to this weekend at OTS. Your boys over at OTS, big art dealer in the area.
Yep.
So Chris and the crew are hosting a sound off. And I've tried to get him to compete, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's just going to go buck Jeff. But we're going to go. I'm going to head over there tomorrow at some point to hang out. But anyways, definitely check out Moscone. And also for the guys that just scour the show to see what's new, you'll notice that right above my shoulder, this black amplifier right here is the Pro 830 hanging on the wall. We've rearranged the wall this afternoon just to make things a little bit more exciting. And yeah, I'll let you guys guess. What are the small boxes behind Dean and Fernando? I don't know. Spooky. But there are plenty of three-way sets out there that will fit in there. We've done the new Alpine set, the new R-Type Alpines, the gray ones. We've done the Morel, all the Morels. Obviously, one of the most popular ones that we do is the Focal Flax. So, and then, of course, Arc.
Yeah.
And then super exciting. Super exciting.
All right.
You got a Diet Coke?
I got this one for Brian.
Brian, is there a perceivable sound quality difference between the Blackbird and, say, the Arc or the SE series with a standalone PS8 Pro? Ooh. Yeah, I was waiting for that. I just had that sexy hot dog.
So I still think that the SE has a slight advantage. Okay. But I say that with that there's a bigger picture there. So if I needed to fit SEs in the back of this truck, it would be very difficult. So the win would go to the Blackbird or even the Arc series amplifiers, but the Blackbird for sure. That's why I have it in there. When you start getting into the Blackbird and the Nighthawk is now the companion amplifier that doesn't have DSP in it. The Nighthawk is getting almost, I mean, it's crazy how good that amplifier is. So it's really biting into how good the SE is, and the SE has been the amplifier everybody wants to beat. As much as
those are the big ones that are in your car now, right?
Yeah, that's what's in the Cadillac.
Okay.
So I think that it's getting to the point where that's going to be hard to differentiate. Now it's hard to differentiate. If you put the same amount of power in a Blackbird as what I have in the Cadillac in SE, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. Power output and how much I have in there is really the determining factor at this point.
Yeah, because there's like 1 million watts in there, right?
There's a lot of watts. Yeah, there's a lot of power.
You got all the watts. You got all the watts. You got all their friends. You got Naomi Watts. Howdy. How are you? How you doing? I need something Arc to review. Okay. I haven't got a chance to play with Arc yet. Well, it's going. Oh, there you go. Coming with some hot questions. Yeah. He threw it at you. RVH, note to Dean, when the Arc guy is there, only mention Arc. LOL. Yeah, I know. It's all right. We still got to pay for the show. And then remind me to tell you, Brian, when we see next time about Mike and his Diet Coke with the sandwich.
He loves that.
And anytime, because we'll just say creamy white sauce. That's all I have to say. But Boston Mike, thank you for playing with us today. This is a good one. Can I buy Arc Audio from any online source?
So there's only one authorized outlet online, and that is just other than our website, and that is Creative Audio. They have to adhere to the pricing because so many times guys will go online and they'll find something that's really cheap, and then when they have a problem with it, they come to find out that either it's a fake, it's not real, or that they won't do anything for service. And sometimes it's not a problem with the product. Sometimes they just need a little service. And so it's the world that we live in, that we have to have some kind of outlet on the internet for people that are in places where there's not a dealer. But we always recommend going to a dealer if there is a dealer in your area.
So wait, they can buy it from Arc Audio though? They can buy it directly from you guys?
Yeah, correct. On our website, it is for sale, but that gets fulfilled by the closest dealer to them. Because again, our thinking on that is that we want the customer to have some place that they can go back to. So when it's fulfilled by the dealer that's closest to them, unfortunately, it's not always somebody that's right there because they may be in an area that there's not anybody. But at least you have a person that you can call that's more than likely in their time zone. And if you need other products, maybe you order something and it's not quite right, you didn't open up the package, you might need to send it back, or you need to order a harness. Whenever you get that order, there's contact information in there for that dealer. So our goal is that everybody is linked up to a dealer as much as possible. That's our, the products have to be installed. Even for the do-it-yourself guys, they need somebody to contact sometimes just to buy parts.
Yeah. So Arc Sonic.
No, they are not an authorized retailer. They go and they buy stuff from dealers who are either going out of business, or we have found stuff that has serial numbers to face. So I can't tell you where it came from, but we do not sell to any other outlet. So Woofers, etc., or Sonic Electronics are not authorized dealers. They don't buy from us. So yeah.
So thank you for doing this. Now, before, take a breath, because you've made my life so much easier today. I want to thank you so much for doing that. Behind you, I know what it is, but behind you, the blue screen of death behind you is a design you're working on right now for a Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then the pincushion of death, is that movable yet? Like, can you hold that up yet, or is it just stationary?
Yeah, it's still pretty stationary. I can move the camera.
So this is an amp beauty panel rack for the back of a Mercedes that he's working on, that he's been working on now for a very long period of time. And
well,
apparently,
that's because I'm traveling so much.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
So there's 120 individual pieces of aluminum rod.
Yeah.
So they started out as a 12-inch piece of rod, and I've cut them down to 1-inch pieces, and then each end had to be polished. It had to be sanded flat, completely flat, and then it'll be polished. And that is going to simulate the front grille. Now, a lot of people have done front grille, back sides of the woofer box, but this one's going to be 3D like the original one. So it's very a very complicated piece. Like I said, 120 different ones, and they all have to be held in place at the same time. And then the Mercedes emblem is off of it's a factory Mercedes light up logo, so that will light up, and then there'll be lighting around the outside edges, which will all the lights will reflect off of all of the small aluminum pieces. Those aluminum pieces won't stick out the full inch. They'll probably be about a half an inch out, and the light show should be pretty awesome on it.
So I just want you to know that you had an easy way out of this car.
I did.
We had a real good plan in the beginning. It was like it was going to be done in a week.
Yeah.
That was 2 months ago. Okay. And then you had to come up with this cockamamie idea, and you're like, Dean, guess what I'm going to do? And I'm like, could have just ordered a grill, for God's sakes. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah,
Hey,
so originally I was just going to cut out the holes and have plexi mirror behind it, which is how most of the guys would do it.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is that I don't want to do something in the shop that everybody else has done. I want to do something where everybody goes, that was a lot of work, maybe useless work. Okay, I will be the first one to admit that. Maybe that's that. But the people who know will know. And
you know what I really think it is? I think you only want to work on 2 cars a year.
Oh no, I've done other cars this year.
No, just 2 big cars a year. That's it. You're just going to do 2 big cars.
Oh no, if I could just do mine, I'd be happy this year.
It's never going to get done.
Exactly.
You keep. I'm gonna cut 100 pieces of aluminum, and then I'm gonna polish them because this is fun.
Yeah, and each one had to be polished separately. Sanded and polished separately. So
I know.
I ended up buying some gloves that were really thin because they get hot because the heat just emanates from them.
Yeah.
And you start sanding on them.
My first rodeo, I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a bit more abrasive though. I'm not polishing shit. So, anyways, guys, that's the show. I know it went by super fast because I didn't have to do any of the talking. So for me, it flew by. That was wonderful. Thank you, Brian, for coming on the show. Good luck at
SVR.
Still Regionals.
Yep.
See, I could remember the whole name, but the acronym I was totally lost on.
And if they're in the neighborhood, come out and watch it. If they're not competing.
What state is it?
West Virginia.
What date?
Next weekend. So whatever weekend that
So
is. They all run together for me.
Yeah, next weekend, West Virginia, Still Valley Regionals. There's a Facebook page. Definitely look it up. If you're in the area, go by. Bug Brian, bug all the competitors.
Say hi to the dogs.
If you're in the Dallas area in August 24th.
Yep.
August 24th, the three of us, along with a whole bunch of other guys, will be at Jay's Tint.
Yep.
Noon till something.
Yep.
There's going to be food. There's going to be cars. There's going to be stuff to listen to. There'll be dogs to pet. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's in August. And then if you're in Florida in August, the weekend before,
I didn't know the dogs
you can head out to Doug, why not? I mean, he'll be there. Why would he not come? It's going to be a lot of fun. You can the Florida Regional Sound Championship, something like that, is the weekend before the 24th here in Clearwater, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have more information, of course, about that. We're going to post that all up, or you can just reach out to any of us.
Yeah.
Here you go. See, look at that. Look at that. Fernando's right there. Battle of the Bay. Surprised you're not driving down for that, man.
I just have too many places that I have to be.
Come on. What is one more?
We're just not that cool. We're just not that cool. No, the reason is because he's going to spend 3 weeks on the East Coast. He's got to drive back. He's got to be home for like 5 days. He's got to spend 2 easy days in his car driving to Texas, so we can do Knowledge Fest.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday. We're gonna go take pictures on Friday because Friday's picture day. This time we're bringing a wagon and bottled water for the dogs, so Dean doesn't have to run a mile back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And get dogs. While Brian sits there and rubs and goes, "Okay, babies, it's gonna be okay. Daddy's getting you water."
I think I'm gonna get him a Mister too.
Oh, for sure. God, please. They have a charmed life. They have a charmed life. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Make sure to tune in Monday. We're back here answering all your questions. Thank you for having great questions for us today. You guys have a wonderful weekend. As always, it's the weekend. It's Saturday night. If you're going to go out and do something stupid, make sure you pay someone to get you home safe. Call a friend, whatever, so we can have you all back here on Monday and do cool things with car audio. Dress like it's nice. Picture day. Of course, always. Do your hair. Brian's got fresh do right now. He's going out of town. He got his hair cut yesterday.
Always got a haircut.
Yeah. That's his thing. If Brian wins the lottery, he's getting his haircut every day of the week. New socks every day of the week. Getting his haircut every day of the week.
Very nice.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
And maybe a Chick-fil-A frosted lemonade every day too.
No, we're just gonna buy a Chick-fil-A. And we're going to open it on Sundays. Screw those guys. See you guys.